Hello everyone, welcome to Sentence Diagramming 101. This video is about Chapter 9, Section B, repeated words, but it is also the final video because we're going to finish the book right now, ladies and gentlemen. But we're going to do it with a bang because the repeated words is weird. So, fun thing that English can do is just stack words, and you can stack them and they can still mean things. You just have to sometimes add punctuation. So we have two examples here that we're going to play with. The first is the buffalo, which some of you may be familiar with. You may have seen this before. And then the other one is all the hads, which also it was a meme for a while, so you may be familiar with that too. But let's start with those buffalo. Okay. You'll notice that some of them are capitalized and some of them are lowercase, but let's work our way through this. This is actually a sentence in English. So you're like, all right, buffalo, 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 buffalo. All right, so you're like, you just made noise. All right, let's start with those buffalo. If you think about Buffalo as a city, and then you think about Buffalo as bison. So you're like bison from the city of Buffalo. So those Buffalo bison, right? The city bison. That other bison from Buffalo, Buffalo meaning bully in this case. So the city bison that the other city bison bully, in turn, bully other city bison. So it's sort of like the idea that when you are bullied, you become a bully, is in terms of how bison behavior is working here. So you're like those city buffalo, those buffalo, that other city buffalo or city bison bully buffalo. So buffalo, buffalo, buffalo. In turn, they buffalo bully other buffalo, buffalo. So here it is kind of worked out. The Buffalo City Buffalo Bison, that other city bison buffalo, right, in turn will bully other buffalo city bison. So there you go. Now, if we want to label this thing, you're like, okay, adjective, subject. This is my independent clause right in the middle, right? Or, I'm sorry, dependent clause in the middle, and it's describing those buffalo, so it's an adjective. Clause, and then they buffalo other buffalo. So you're like buffalo, 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 buffalo. Done. All right, one more. Now that your brain is like, what is happening? We're gonna do the James and John. Okay, James, while John had a better effect on the teacher. You're like, oh my God, so many hads. Yes. Here's where punctuation matters. Imagine that James and John are both taking a test, all right? And the answer to the test is had, except one of them wrote had and the other wrote had. That's your scenario. So we're like, James, while John had the one word, James had. So he had both. Had, which was the correct answer, had a better effect on the teacher. So you're like, James had, right? Had the answer. The answer had a better effect on the teacher. So in this case, you've got a lot of these hads. The commas help, clearly. Also, the quotation marks to clear up with, is it had versus had. So that will help you, but, you've got an adverb clause happening here, and then this is just two independent clauses with a semicolon in between. So that's when repeated words are made clearer, if you can define this as clear, by adding punctuation. So English is a good time and lets you do really weird things. Now, we're done. We've made it to the end. Dun, 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 at the end of all things. You've learned so many things, right? We started with sentence patterns, and then we got to phrases. We did prepositions, appositives, absolutes, verbals. We went into gerunds and participles and infinitives, right? All your verbs doing weird things, verbals. Then we got to the boss level. We did the clauses, nouns, adjectives, adverbs. We got to sentence types at the end. Then we did the weird stuff, questions, commands, expletives, even poetry. And then we ended with made up and repeated words. And hopefully you picked up some movie recs along the way. But the rest of this chapter is practice, so have fun. And then there's a bunch of recommended lists at the end. So here's some practice. Have a good time. All these videos are also posted so you can check your answers. My favorite are these. This is from these sentences are from the original Reed and Kellogg sentences, that book that was published in like the end of the 1800s. So you'll notice like some of these are fun. You know, the verb is the life of the sentence. To be good is to be great. Swearing is sinful. So when you read that book, it's a very interesting time capsule of a very specific period in history. Yeah, that women are more emotional is a fact well known. Is gives you a good sense of how that book works. But we had Elizabeth beheading Raleigh. He likes to talk about history as well as like schoolboys needing their books and things. But that is chapter 9. I do want to run through the appendices very quickly because here's the abbreviation key. So you'll notice you get a lot of these just letters. Here's what they stand for. Here's what my symbols are. Parentheses are prepositions. The little like, I can't think of what these are called. My brain is going. The less than symbol. Arrows. Wow. Thanks, COVID. Those show you verbals. And then the brackets show you clauses. And after that, we've got a huge list of all the movies. So I don't know if you're bored and you want to watch some movies, but there they all are. My top 5 are here. I love these. And then Laura's top 5 are here. And she was like, this is hard. And I get it. It was hard. After that, I've got a list of recommended books, just reading on language and diagramming and grammar and all that good stuff. If you want my recs, Florrie O'Connor Reed video and anything by David Crystal is a really good time. And I will admit, I haven't read all of these. I've read a lot of them, but I have not read them all, but they all came very well recommended. Then we have a glossary. So if you're wondering like, oh, I don't remember what a conjunction is, boom, there it is. So those are all of that. And we made it to the end. Yay! Go to our website, check it out, and you can email. You can also email us at sentencediagramming102@gmail is the other email that goes to those of us that have worked on the book. Sentencediagramming101@gmail was taken, so I don't know who that is, but sentencediagramming102@gmail is an email address that we will be checking. So if you have questions or comments or anything, let us know. It's been fun.